Hi, welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the full moon in Aquarius.
Mm.
And it's going to be happening at 27 degrees, 16 minutes. The moon mansion is the fourth spout of the water bucket. It is the 26th moon mansion. It is in the constellation of Pegasus. Ptolemy says that it has flavor of is Mars and Mercury. So good for business. It is good for subtle attraction, goodwill, love, friendship, favor, and relationships, romantic and divine love. So both of those are the higher aspects of love, not the hey, we just met and let's, get together. It's the higher love, the divine love. It indicates recovery from illness, and when it appears in the sky, it should be indicating good health in general, and it is also it's favorable for safety for road travel. So very, very good. Not so nice if you are a captive. If you are a prisoner, it means that you could be incarcerated for longer or under firmer or harder conditions. So it's not good if you are against the law.
And it's the flavor of Mercury and Mars. Maybe it's good for getting you to where you want to go fast. But
Yeah.
Mercury at the moment is retrograde, so maybe not so much.
It
Maybe
might have a few delays or,
Interesting.
miscommunications.
Yeah. It sounds like a nice moon mansion for the most part, though, so that's good. This moon is full moon in Aquarius, so it's ruled by Saturn. Unfortunately, Saturn can't see it, which is a shame. It's co-present with Pluto. Venus can't see it, which is unfortunate, but it can see Jupiter and Mars. It is, oh, that's quite a tight square with Uranus. So, interesting. A little bit of a shock or surprise to culminating events, perhaps. Perhaps you're anticipating that something's going to happen one way and it gets completely 180. Interesting.
27 degrees has been showing up a lot lately in very prominent areas. So
Mm.
that's a very interesting degree that is at that
Well,
27 degree.
not just that, but I mean, the sun, which is opposite the moon at a full moon, is very close with retrograde Mercury. So we've got that retrograde Mercury, which kind of, delays and setbacks and misunderstandings and miscommunications and all that. So we've not only got Uranus to contend with closely aspecting this full moon, but we've got Mercury retrograde opposing it closely, as well as the full moon happening and squaring that Uranus. We've also got the Venus opposite Saturn and both of them squaring that Jupiter Mars. It's very interesting. A lot of those aspects will have already passed, but they should still be felt. It's going to be a very eventful full moon, I think. Yeah. We've got some interesting aspects coming up too. So we'll be discussing that after we do the horoscopes
Yes.
and the gem for this full moon. We're going to look at the horoscopes, and we recommend that you listen or read your ascendant sign horoscope rather than your sun or your moon sign. And if you don't understand why that is, we've done a video all about that, and I'll put a link to that in the description.
If you are an Aquarius rising, this is going to be happening in your first house, this full moon. And full moons have a lot to do with culminations and things that are coming to fruition. These things will be coming to fruition around the things that is just yourself. The first house has a lot to do with the self. And so if you have been working for something 6 months ago that you started, this might be coming to fruition, or you might be graduating from it right around now. So yeah, this is a great time to You have some Pluto in that first house, so that's going to cause a little bit of intensity of whatever you might be going through if you haven't been paying attention to what Pluto's been trying to ask you to do. It's just starting.
And if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this full moon is happening in your second house. The second house is the house of your income and resources, your personal income and personal resources. So this could be a high point, a culmination. It may be a bonus or some sort of money that's coming to you in some fashion. It could be an end of something, because full moons are about the harvest, and sometimes that can be endings. This could be maybe you've been working towards acquiring something, a personal resource, something that's useful to you, that supports you, and maybe this is a time where it comes to you. There is Uranus aspecting this full moon from your fifth house of children, creativity, and things like that, things that you enjoy. So there may be a little bit of a maybe that personal resource or extra income or bonus maybe have to be filtered off out into children or personal resource. Maybe there's a need to make some sort of adjustment there. And if you're looking to get money from somebody else, a bank or a partner or somebody else, other people's money, in the opposite house, we have the sun, but we also have Mercury retrograde. So if you're relying on money from somebody else, it may take longer than you anticipate. There may be more paperwork or things that need to be sorted out. You may need to redo something with regard to that matter.
And if you are a Sagittarius rising, the full moon will be happening in your third house. And the third house is short transportation. So transportation that is around your local. We're not talking about far away or foreign lands. We're talking about just your local area. And this is community. This could also be something that is coming to fruition around your family. This will also include like people like cousins and aunts and uncles, those type of people. So a family reunion might be in store that's coming to fruition around this time. If you are a Sagittarius rising, this could also be early education as well.
And if you're a Scorpio ascendant, this full moon is happening in your fourth house. The fourth house is the home and family. And when we talk about family, it's more often your parents. So this may be not so much to do with you. It may have something more to do with your parents. Maybe they're coming to a high point or a culmination in something they're looking to do. It could be something to do with where you live, the people you live with. Maybe somebody's leaving, or maybe you're moving to another house. Maybe, you've wanted to move somewhere, and this is a time where it happens. At Uranus in the seventh is quite interesting. A partner might throw a bit of a spanner in the works, maybe not even necessarily bad, but just there may be a surprise element from a partner or a very close friend with regard to that, because that Uranus is at the same degree as this full moon. So, but yeah, with Mercury retrograde and the sun opposite this full moon too in your career and public reputation area, very easy to not fully have all the details or need to wait or miscommunication. So this full moon is going to be very eventful for a lot of people, I think, but particularly if you do have planets at about 27 degrees of the fixed signs. So that's Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus.
Very interesting times. And if you are a Libra rising, this full moon will be happening in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of fun and activities and things we create. It's things that we do for entertainment. This could be concert tickets that are, the show is finally, you bought the ticket 6 months and you're finally able to go. This could be, anything that you have created that is now coming to fruition. If you are a painter or an artist, this might be a project that you've been working on for a while, that you might be able to see some finality to it.
And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 6th house. The 6th house is the house of service. So this incorporates people that work for the good of society, like doctors, nurses, first responders. It's also the house of employees. So that can include people that are your literal employees. It can be people that you supervise at work. It can include people doing work for you, such as tradespeople. It's also pets. So this could be a high point to do with a pet. It could be you have an employee or somebody that you supervise leaving. It could be a high point for somebody who's in a service-related industry. Maybe they're graduating a course or passing a test at this time. It could also be related to illness, with retrograde Mercury in the 12th house, because the 12th house is the house of our undoing. If it had something to do with, say, addictions, or even if you were hospitalized, maybe there may be a relapse, or there could be having to be readmitted to hospital or something similar to that, simply because you have that Mercury retrograde in the 12th house. But for many, it won't be anything to do with that. It's just interesting that that retrograde Mercury is opposite the full moon, and we do have Uranus squaring it up near in the 9th house, which is higher education, foreigners, stuff like that. So yeah, high point, culmination, or ending. There's a lot going on with this chart. Yeah, we've got two T-squares here, and yeah,
There is.
it's a nice moon mansion. I'm hoping that's going to be positive. I'm hoping that any shocks or surprises are fortunate ones. So let's be hopeful.
The only way to be. And then if you are a Leo rising, this full moon is going to be happening in the 7th house. And the 7th house is the house of the one other. If you have a committed relationship of any type, whether it's a business partner, a romantic partner, a friendship, if you are meeting somebody at a certain spot, time, or place, and they write your name down and you have to be there, this is that kind of relationship. It's the committed relationship where you have to show up and work with one other person. So this is the house of the one other person. Things will be coming to fruition around those issues or that person. If you were, planning on doing something with that one other person, this would be the time where it might be coming to fruition.
And if you are a Cancer ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is other people's money. So this can include things like inheritances, loans, debts, shared bank accounts, taxes, insurances. Yeah, so there's a high point or a culmination. Maybe, you're joining your finances with a partner, whether that's business or romantic. If so, there may be, it may not be as straightforward. You have Mercury retrograde in your 2nd house of your personal finances. So maybe you need to put forward X amount of money and you go to do it and the bank says, no, you can't take out that much money per day, like over here, unless you tell the bank you've got to, they're like, no, you spent enough today. You ring up and say, I want to spend more. And then you have Uranus in the 11th, groups, friends, and organizations. So, and that's squaring that Mercury retrograde and Sun, as well as the full moon. So, it could be that, there may be delays to do with this. Maybe more paperwork needs to be signed. But a high point, maybe that inheritance is coming through at this time. Maybe, that loan's approved, but, maybe you need to go back and sign some more paperwork or somebody needs to go guarantor for you, some sort of, not a huge fly in the ointment, but just like some delay or something's been missed. So just be aware of that.
And if you are a Gemini rising, and I was just checking on this, but if you are a Gemini rising, this full moon is going to be happening in your ninth house. And the ninth house has a lot to do with courts. It has a lot to do with publishing, the law. It has things to do with foreigners and foreign travel. So, and you will have things that are coming to fruition around those themes. So this is quite interesting, because Kamala Harris is a Gemini rising. So that moon is going to be in her ninth house. So that's the house of higher thought, forward thinking. So I don't know. Trump's is a Leo rising. So that's where the presidential nominees are at with this full moon. But the full moon is going to be coming to fruition. If you are a Gemini rising, it's going to be coming to fruition around, foreign people, as well as law, publishing, higher education, those types of things.
If you are a Taurus ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career and public reputation. So this could be some high point or culmination at work. You may be finishing a project, or you may, be having, there could be a promotion at work perhaps at this time, or some sort of acclaim, because this is the house of honors and rewards. With regards to like finishing up a project, maybe a good idea to double check it, simply because we do have that Mercury retrograde opposing this full moon. 10th house can also be authority figures, so that can include bosses. This could be a boss leaving, or public reputation as well, because it's not always career and not everybody has paid employment either. For whatever reason, though, there's a lot of light because, in the full moon, the moon is all lit up, and it's all lit up in your 10th house, which is one of the more visible houses in your chart. So for whatever reason, you're getting a bit of acclaim, a bit of attention, more attention than usual. You also have Uranus in your first house. So, things are a little bit surprising. Maybe you are rocking the boat a little bit, but maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's something sudden and surprising, and people are really happy about that, or surprised but delighted about what's happening, hopefully.
And if you are an Aries rising, this full moon will be happening in your 11th house. And the 11th house is a friendly house. It is in charge of the themes of friendships, as well as your wishes, hopes, and dreams. So this full moon might be coming to you and coming to fruition, things that you have been planning on, that you've been working on, that you've been wishing for or dreaming for. So this is a really nice house. With Pluto in there, it seems like it might be a little bit transformative, but this is it definitely is it's one of the nicer houses to have your hopes and dreams come true for you.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of our undoing. It's places of retreat or confinement. That can include places like prisons or hospitals, monasteries. It's working behind the scenes. It's hidden and secret matters. It's places of exile. So yeah, there may be a high point or a culmination to do with these matters. We do have Mercury retrograde in the 6th house, which is opposite when we spoke about our undoing. I mean, this can be things like addictions and that, but also hidden illnesses. Somebody looked at you, they can't tell that there's obviously something wrong with you, but you may be suffering, whether that's from anxiety or depression or an autoimmune disease or some sort of disease that isn't necessarily easily seen. With Mercury retrograde in the 6th house of illness, I do wonder if some people, like we spoke about that high point, maybe overcoming an addiction or being released from hospital, you know, maybe it may be a little bit early, maybe you need to go back in, but this may actually be beneficial. You know, there's no good being released from hospital if you're not fully recovered, if there is something else that's been discovered. And for people that are working behind the scenes, maybe you're wrapping up something that you've been working on. So for the next full moon, which will be in Pisces, you know, you'll be able to be back out on the stage. But yeah, that Mercury retrograde opposite, and then you've also got the wild card of Uranus also squaring this full moon. And not just for you, for everybody, it's kind of like you reach this high point or this culmination or ending, and it's kind of like, I don't think it's going to be as simple as it seems. I think for a lot of people, it's going to be like, yay, oh, you know, oh, you know, and that doesn't necessarily mean bad. It may be good, but there's a surprise element to this full moon, and there may be delays or mix-ups or a bit of miscommunication because we do have that Mercury retrograde so closely opposing this full moon.
Very interesting. And the stone that I brought is a very cool stone, very Aquarian stone. This is what I was excited about last night when I texted, when we messaged each other. This is called Tektite. And there we go. And this was birthed by a meteorite. Whether it is part of a meteorite, I don't think so. Or did it form when the meteorite was impacting the Earth? But this is a Tektite. And this is very Aquarian. And the reason why is this will help you communicate with the higher realms. And it's black. It's got a Mohs hardness of 5.5 to 6.5. This is found. It's found in North America, Australia. So this is something that gets in your neck of the woods as well. Africa, China, Southeast Asia, and Indonesia. So, or Indochina. Sorry, Indochina. This in this particular stone for over 2,000 years, there was a Chinese writer gave it the name of and the meaning, it was a Chinese name, so I don't know, I can't enunciate that. But the interpretation of that is inkstone of the thunder god. So that's my little tag about it. The Aborigines believe it to bring good luck.
The Australian Aborigines, or?
Yep, yep.
Oh.
And the Tibetan monks believed it to be they called it the stone of Shambhala. So that is a very cool thing. It helps you communicate with higher levels, gives you a sense of knowing it. The Sanskrit interpretation of what they called it, the interpretation is teardrops from the moon. And this is all from the Book of Stones by Robert Simmons and Naisha Ashan. So that's where I got my information on this Tektite,
Nice.
which is, I thought was very Aquarian. It goes with the element storm and the chakra. It works on all the chakras. So that's how you would use this.
Nice.
A pretty high frequency stone. If you are sensitive to stones, don't plan on carrying it around all day long.
What might it do?
And that is called the Tektite.
What might it do if you did carry it around? Like just drain you, or?
You would feel scattered. You would feel very, very up in your head. It doesn't have a whole lot of grounding, even though it's black. It does kind of ground, but it's not really meant to ground you and make you feel less up in your head. It's meant to give you a high frequency.
Let's have a look at the aspects.
The next aspect that's going to be happening, there's a lot of aspects happening on the same day. Earlier that day, Venus will square Jupiter. Venus will oppose Saturn. The sun will square Uranus.
Yep.
And then we'll have the full moon. and then Jupiter will square retrograde Saturn. So there's a lot of aspects going on this day. It's a full moon. In the United States, as I said earlier, the DNC will be kicking off its first day of their agenda, and it is a full moon, and it should be very, very interesting. I think both candidates were born under full moons, so that's going to be definitely something that's going to play into this election, I think. Don't ask me who's going to win. I have no idea. I don't. So, anyway, when Jupiter squares retrograde Saturn, Jupiter wants to expand, Saturn wants to pull back. So this is kind of what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure out what you need to expand in your life and what you need to pull back and kind of rein in your life. So that's what all of us will be facing for this day with the Jupiter square Saturn, the retrograde Saturn.
Yeah, and Jupiter is not in really good condition. It's in a sign of its detriment. It's in a sign ruled by Mercury, which is kind of its opposite. So, yeah, Jupiter is not acting as effectively as it could, even though it is a benefic. But like Donna says, it wants to charge forward. It's recently had a conjunction with Mars, which revs everything up. And, they're within 3 degrees at this time still. So that's a pretty flighty and geared up Jupiter. But Saturn has the upper hand here. It is in earlier zodiacal order. So it is dominating that Jupiter, but Saturn's retrograde. So it will be very interesting. Kind of that enthusiasm and drive, because you got that drive with that Mars, that Jupiter enthusiasm, optimism. It may be a little bit dimmed with this contact with this Saturn, and that Saturn's retrograde. So it's probably seeing those limitations and restrictions a little bit more dismally than usual. Instead of kind of thinking, well, if I apply myself and work hard and do this, it's kind of like, what's the point? And, feeling trapped and hemmed in. So it may be a little bit of a seesaw of emotions here. And I mean,
yeah, I think
this is happening on the full moon, which can, heighten emotions in general anyway. So
yeah, the thing is not be impulsive, to give it some thought. That's what this is asking you to do.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got that Venus opposite that Saturn. I mean, these have already passed. I mean, there's a degree between Venus having just opposed that Saturn, but it is very much still a T-square between Venus opposed Saturn squaring that Jupiter Mars. So we've got 4 planets all in a what do you call it, an aspect pattern, a T-square, and on the day of a full moon, and that full moon itself is being squared by Uranus and has Mercury retrograde in it. It's going to be an interesting full moon.
Definitely. It's going to be an interesting full moon. And the next aspect will be when the sun enters Virgo. This is this is going to be when you're going to be thinking about what do you need to do daily? What is going to improve your health? This is the good energy to help you move things into. If you were doing things that weren't the best things for your health, you might consider at this time to give it some improvement. Your health might be more of a concern. And I'm only saying that is because Virgo is the sign that has you checking in with what you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, wherever Virgo is in your natal chart, the people and topics associated with that planet, they're going to have the sun shining on them for a month. So, you'll be taking a bit more interest and notice to do with those people and topics. We've also got Venus in there for probably, I don't know, another week or so. Maybe not a week, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's wherever the sun is, it's shining a light. And in this case, it's in Virgo. So
And the next aspect is going to happen on August 22nd, same day that the sun enters Virgos. And this is going to be Venus will square Mars. And these are the archetypal couple in the sky. Under this aspect, because it's a square, if relationships are good, then they're going to be very good. If relationships are bad, they're going to be very bad. So it's how you it's where you are in your love relationships on how how this day will manifest. If it's been working and everything is hunky-dory and rosy, then it's probably going to be a very nice day. If your relationship is kind of rocky, you could have some upsets with this. So that is definitely something that you should be aware of. The other thing to be aware of, because this is a challenging square, is if new relationships start, they're probably not going to last because it is a square. So, or they're not going to last under this aspect. But this is a challenging time if you're in love relationships and if it's not good.
Yeah, it can be quite sexy, bit of friction. What do they call it? Sexual tension.
Mm-hmm.
Mars is in the superior position, so he has the upper hand here. Venus is in Virgo, so she's in the sign of her fall. She's not in the best position here. Yeah, look, you know, she could be maybe a little bit critical, and Mars isn't happy about that. And Mars is not super close to Jupiter at this time. There's about 5 degrees between them, but it could be enough to kind of inflame things. But, you know, this could be a good kind of fight and then kiss and make up energy for many.
And the next aspect we will be talking about on August 24th, that's Saturday. Oh, I like this one. Retrograde Mercury will sextile Mars. And this is going to be a fun one. This is good for energizing speeches. If you were in a competition, I can see this as the coach in the locker room talk, you know, during halftime to rev up the team. And this is also, this can be help you to be a little bit more successful than you would normally. This is good thought, although Mercury is in retrograde, so you can't really depend on your thought process. But a sextile Mercury or sextile Mars is that leadership, that bravery and those kind of skills. So with the sextile, it's asking for a favorable aspect.
With that Mercury being retrograde, there's a chance of, you know, getting all inspired and fired up. And like I think of Mercury and Mars when they're sextile or trine, kind of like, you know, putting your words into action sort of thing, or your thoughts into action. I think it's very easy to maybe get a little bit turned around sort of thing. You know, you might think, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, you know, I'm going to put this, I've got these things, these flat packs from IKEA, and I'm going to put them together. They've been sitting over there for the last month. I'm going to put them together, but, you know, you get them all out together and you mix them up. And yeah, I think it's easy to get a little bit misdirected here. Maybe not in a catastrophic way, but, you know, maybe you need to put you put it together and then you've got to take it apart because you've got this part really belongs to that other one over there or something similar. Or, you know, you're studying and you studied the wrong unit. Instead of this unit, you've studied that other one. And, you know, that's good because you're going to do that unit later, but you really kind of should have done this one first sort of thing. Not catastrophic, but yeah, maybe just a bit of misdirected energy here.
For those who have started school, make sure your homework assignments are correct. You've written them what you need to do correctly.
Yeah, easy to get that mixed up, I think.
The next aspect we're going to be talking about is going to be happening August 27th. So this is going to be happening on the following Tuesday, and it will be Venus will trine Uranus. And when Venus trines Uranus, this is always a fun one. It's asking you to look at love relationships in a different way. It's asking you to change up what you like. If you always did, I don't know, skydiving for your dates, then you might want to try knitting, or just mix it up instead of doing the same old same old. It's asking you to look at your love relationships in a new light. And this could also include looking at new relationships in a new light. You might, if your type was always blondes or brunettes, you might go for a redhead. I don't know. Just somebody different that than you normally would be dating or going out with. This would be or interested in. This is and this is looking at those Venusian things in a new way. So whether it's art or romantic partners, this is getting you to look at it in a new way.
Yeah. And I mean, when we had that full moon, which I think was the 19th, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. On the 19th of August, we had Venus opposing Saturn, retrograde Saturn. So maybe we were feeling a little bit kind of, it's a relationship, but it's a little bit boring. It's the comfortable slipper rather than the sexy stiletto sort of thing. And maybe this is given somebody a bit of a kick up the bum to make things a little bit more exciting, or doing something a little bit more exciting. Yeah. And that can include, like Donna said, maybe you've always appreciated classical art, classical paintings and all that, and you go to a modern gallery instead, and or a different type of music, or even it could be anything. But yeah, quite often I see this, you think of relationships, mixing them up a bit, or even just socializing. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Venus is also your social relationships, and yeah, maybe you're mixing with some new exciting people, or people that are just a little bit different to who you usually hang out with, or maybe you're doing something a little bit different. So yeah. And then the next day,
Whatever you thought you saw probably isn't real. Because aspects, they lead up to it might happen. The aspect might actually come to exact on, like, say, Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday, you might be feeling that leading up to it. So that this very well might play into what was happening the day before. So keep that in mind when Venus is opposite Neptune. This is asking you to beware of illusion in relationships. This is when you could be totally misguided by your relationships. This is, if it is a romantic day, enjoy it, but it could very well not be what you are thinking. Yeah, you can be deceived by love, so be careful of that.
yeah, interesting that this comes the day after that Venus Uranus trine. So maybe somebody new caught your eye and you thought, oh, they're so much more exciting than who I'm currently seeing or who I liked. And maybe something happens that you can't, yeah, no, not really. That boring Saturn opposition back around about the time of the full moon, you might start appreciating that now. Could be good for creativity, because that Neptune can be very creative and idealistic and all the rest of it. But yeah, there could be a high chance of, like Donna said, being deceived, but maybe just maybe you're a bit disillusioned. You might kind of discover somebody's feet of clay or the rose-colored glasses. Just might not be either working too effectively, you're not seeing all the red flags, or maybe this is a time where it's just no. Yeah, I think maybe disillusionment. It's easy to build somebody up into some highly idealistic, Adonis or goddess or whatever. They're human, and that's fine. That's as it should be. So, and we've got Mercury stationing at the time, so maybe they said something, or you think they said something, and yeah, you could take it either, oh my God, that was, they're declaring their love for me and it's not, or you think they said something horrible and they haven't. It's really confusing, easy, like just remember, we're dealing with Mercury retrograde here, and even though it's going to station, we're going to be in the shadow until till the 11th of September. So yeah, so
And the next aspect will be Mercury will station direct, as Lynda was saying and alluding to earlier. So it went back, it went retrograde when it was in Virgo, and it went back into Leo, and it's at 21 degrees, and it'll be going through that shadow period until 4 degrees of Virgo when it goes back into when it gets to Virgo. So you're going to be re-going over that old ground that you covered when Mercury was going retrograde. So that might be what you'll be experiencing with this.
I mean, this will be the third time over this patch of ground between 21 Leo and 4 Virgo, because you had it when it was going direct. It got all the way up to 4 Virgo, then it went all the way back. So that was the second pass, and this is the third pass. But it is going direct, so it may, things shouldn't be quite as confusing, but that retrograde shadow period can really trip you up. And I know sometimes I sail through a retrograde period and then bang, you get hit during the shadow period. So as Donna said, that retrograde shadow period lasts until the 11th of September. So yeah, just be aware, still just, double check things, allow a little bit more time if you're traveling somewhere, if it's somewhere important.
The next aspect will be Venus will enter Libra. And for those people who are ruled by Venus, we really like it in Libra or Taurus. This is their home sign. So when Venus enters Libra on August 29th, this will be when she will have much more strength. She'll be in her own sign. She'll have her own tools. She will be able to work through the things that she wants to accomplish when she has all of the strength, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Yeah, she's in her own home, so that's nice. And wherever Libra is in your natal chart, because Venus is a benefic and it quite often brings benefits or some sort of gift, there may be benefits or gifts from the people or topics associated with wherever Libra is in your natal chart. So nice. And she's strong in this sign because she rules this sign. So very nice.
I'm very happy about that. And then the next aspect is going to happen on the same day, and Venus will trine Pluto. This is an aspect where you could develop some insight into your love relationships. This is can be very intense relationships. It could bring up and amp up the intensity of it. This is also good for if you are an artist and you occasionally find yourself locked in a room working on one particular thing. This could be a day where that happens. This is where you get really intense and you just want to really focus on, and you shut the world out and you really focus on your art. And this is where you could be like spending hours getting one particular section just the way you like it or want it to turn out. This could be very intense artistic expression.
Obsession. Yeah. Obsession, depth, honesty, transformation potentially. Venus is moving pretty quick at this time. She's moving at 124% of her usual speed. Yeah, so it could be quite interesting, quite intense for relationships and yeah, Venusian matters, art, beauty, harmony, socializing.
And the next aspect will be Uranus will station retrograde. And this is an outer planet, so it really shouldn't affect you a lot but you could see things more, I want to say upsetting, but their things are going to be more shocking. This Uranus is that planet of shock in anyways. So this is going to be a little bit more of this, but it could come out in ways that we're not expecting because Uranus will be acting a little bit erratic.
Yeah, I think this is more likely to impact people with planets around about 27 degrees of the fixed signs. So that's Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. Sudden, shocking, surprising. Hopefully, not bad surprises. People often say that Uranus can bring freedom with it, but it's going to have that shocking element to it. Interesting that this Uranus was square this full moon. So maybe that high point culmination we were talking about, there may be shocking or surprising events happening to do with the topics of that full moon. And maybe this is when that surprise or shock or twist is revealed, perhaps when Uranus actually does station retrograde.
The other thing I wanted to mention with Uranus in Taurus, and it's going in retrograde, in my mundane classes, when Uranus goes retrograde, there's can be a lot of earthquakes. And I know earthquakes have been popping up in the news lately. This is a good time to, if you're listening to this, to, make sure you have water on hand, your medicines on hand for that little bit of time. You can get a hold of FEMA and, figure there's a list of supplies that you really should have on hand during emergencies. We're about to go into our winter months as well. So this would be a good time to stock up, make sure that you have, a couple of days worth of water, food, medicines, that type of thing. With Uranus going into retrograde, getting towards the end of an earth sign, I'm just very concerned about earthquakes.
Mm.
Not to be outdone. The next aspect we are going to be talking about will be Pluto will retrograde back into Capricorn. This is the last time it's going into Capricorn. If you are a Capricorn, if you have any planets in Capricorn that needed changing and you had events that were trying to change, this is when you are going to be called on the carpet to make sure that you have changed whatever needed to be changed. This is the last time that Pluto will be in Capricorn for the next 250 years.
Yeah,
so
something.
So this is a long time. We won't see this again. This when Pluto goes into Capricorn, it's going to stay there until somewhere in December. I think it comes back into Aquarius. So
yeah, 19th of November.
Okay. So if you're feeling a lot of intense changes in your life, and this is in the Capricorn area of your chart, this is where that's coming from. There needs to be a change. So Pluto's going to be asking you to do that. And this is the last time. So, the universe kind of like taps you on the shoulder, it whispers in your ear. And if you're not listening, it'll punch you in the arm. It'll go, hey, you need to listen about this. And then if you have been ignoring the whispers and you've been ignoring the taps and you ignored that punch, you're going to get whacked upside the head, because Pluto is a very intense planet and it wants to change. It's there to make changes so that you can bring other things into your life. And Pluto is not one of those planets where we're happy about those changes, but they're necessary changes to bring something else into your life. So that's what you're going to be asked to do if you have planets in Capricorn or important spots in Capricorn, whether it's on your midheaven, your fourth house, your anywhere on the angles is where I think that there's a lot of action going on. So if you have Capricorn on any of your angles, then I would take notice and make sure that you have things in place for change.
Yeah. I personally don't think that sometimes it's a matter of we haven't been listening or that. Sometimes, sure. I think sometimes tragedy or just horrible stuff happens and that's nobody's fault. And I think that's important to recognize. If you do have planets at the very late degrees of the cardinal sign, so that's Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or Libra, you have been dealing with Pluto going over this and backwards and forwards. Pluto is going to be in Capricorn now until the 19th of December. Then it will leave, and it isn't coming back for a long time. That's not so good news for the fixed signs. And it's easy to think, oh my God, you know, if you don't have anything in the late degrees, the cardinal signs, this might not have much impact for you. Pluto's always in a part of our chart. I think it's very easy to be very fearful of it as well, but probably wrapping up the topics of whatever the people and topics associated with where Capricorn is in your chart, whatever transformation, because it was in there for, I'm thinking 14 years, or was it 20? I think it was about 14 years in Capricorn. Yeah, it's kind of wrapping that up. But if you do have planets at the very late degrees of the cardinal signs, you know, it's going to be there till November, and then it's going to move on. So, but very historic, because I think it's not until 2043 that it moves into Pisces. So it's quite a while before, once it gets into Aquarius, it's going to be in there until 2043, and then it will go into Pisces and retrograde back into Aquarius and finally go back into Pisces. So, but yeah,
It's a slow moving planet for sure.
very
Yeah, and Pluto is known for that uh, that extreme change that a lot of people don't see. Or you know, there are things that just come out of nowhere that just make it change.
And you know, Uranus can be similar. Neptune, maybe. I think Neptune's a little bit more, maybe harder to see in general, but Uranus certainly change. And I've seen that where it can be change will be thrust upon you, but Pluto can be transformative, and it can be good, but you know, it can be quite brutal too. So, and then we have the new moon in Virgo, 11 degrees and 4 minutes, and that'll be on the 2nd of September. Unfortunately, it won't be able to see Mercury, its ruler, because it will be in inversion in the sign next to it. So it's like it's in its blind spot. Opposed by Saturn, squared by Mars and Jupiter, trined by Uranus, trined by Pluto, and unfortunately, Venus can't see it.
Should be interesting. It looks like a rather not a lot going on.
The planets are getting a little bit further away from each other, though. Like at one stage, they were all kind of clumped together, which was quite interesting, but quite intense. You know, when they're in a certain part of your chart, so much going on, they're all starting to spread out a little bit more now. So that's good.
Yeah. So, Lynda, what are you doing these days, and how can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. I do natal readings, relationship readings, and year ahead readings. And Donna, where can people find you?
You can get a hold of me. You can my website is donnabastrology.com, and you can get a hold of me at donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. And I do natal readings, year ahead readings, medical horary, as well as electional. I am also doing energy work. I'm just about to graduate my class, so I'm very excited about being able to share that on another channel that I have, Donna B ACM, which is will be more energy work and the other astrology that I have. If it comes up, I'm not sure what I'll be doing, but I'm not going to limit it just to energy and stone healing. I may add other things to it.
And the link to Donna's YouTube channel is in the description too.
Thank you, Lynda. So to the Virgos out there, happy birthday. It's your season coming up. Thank you for watching. Be sure to share.
Yes. I don't know how Donna feels about it. We very nearly did this as a live on Facebook. No, not on Facebook, on YouTube. We've been playing around with some stuff, but Donna has COVID at the moment, so she's rallied
I have COVID at the moment.
recently. Um,
Foggy.
and yeah, so maybe next, maybe I don't know. New moon in Virgo might be a bit judgmental to go into a live on YouTube, but we'll see. Maybe the full moon in Pisces will be more forgiving. Actually, I don't think we should do it on the new moon, because that new moon is opposite my Mercury, and my Mercury is in Pisces. So that's probably asking for trouble. But yeah, but it's something that we're playing around with. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, maybe let us know. That would be good to know. And if we do go ahead with it, we might drop a link and say, hey, we're going to be doing this on this day. We're also playing around with the idea when we have like a lot of aspects happening, maybe doing a live, but Donna's in Detroit, I'm down in Australia, in Brisbane. Time zones can be a little bit difficult to match up sometimes. And so that's not always possible, but it's something that we're kind of considering and looking at doing. So yeah, so thank you for listening. We really appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares. We hope this full moon's a good one for you. It sounded like the moon mansion was really good. There's a lot of activity going on. So I hope you like a lot of activity going on, because that's what's going to happen.
It's definitely a changing time, especially with that square on this full moon. There's
Yeah.
a couple of squares that is asking for energy and action.
Action. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. Anyway, thank you, and happy full moon. Ciao.